Yeah, I mean, it's about a love story because that's what the point of the film is, and I'm sorry that chivalry and a man pursuing you is now deemed as stalking, which now it's kind of making sense why men are opting out of the dating scene.
I mean, you know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her.
Yeah.
Weird.
God forbid a woman dream about true love. We're all just sitting around here, maybe I could be president one day. I hate men, I just want to be president. That screams Disney princess. Oh my God, I'm literally getting enraged. Once again, I feel like I'm back in 2022.
She's not going to be saved by the prince, and she's not going to be dreaming about true love. She's dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be.
Yeah, the entire film's about a love story. Yeah, I mean, it's about a love story because that's what the point of the film is, and I'm sorry that chivalry and a man pursuing you is now deemed as stalking, which now it's kind of making sense why men are opting out of the dating scene.
You played Snow White, be an actress, be young, be an ingenue in Hollywood. I don't understand what she's doing. The fastest way to tank your career, go out there and start running your mouth and trashing the original IP of the film you're in.
I was scared of the original cartoon. I think I watched it once and then I never picked it up again. I watched it for the first time in probably 17 years.
She is crapping on the original production. I was scared of it. Oh, it was so weird. It was a stalker. Like, I feel like if you are taking on the most iconic Disney role ever, genuinely, like this was the most prolific Disney film, I feel like you should kind of have some sort of reverence.
There's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic.
There was already an uproar about her being cast as Snow White because she is not Caucasian, she is a Latina, she is half Colombian, and so people were like, why were you cast in the first place? We just had a black Little Mermaid, now we're having a Latina Snow White, and she is literally called Snow White. This doesn't make sense. And obviously there are political undertones in her statement. She's kind of talking about feminism and masculinity and men, but people seemed most disappointed about the fact that, again, Rachel didn't even seem like she cared or liked the source material.
Jonah Platt, whose father helped produce the latest Snow White film, had some very harsh words for star Rachel Zegler.
For context, Variety wrote a report recently titled Inside Disney's Snow White Fiasco, Death Threats, Beefed Up Security, and a Social Media Guru for Rachel Zegler.
I mean, that is just far from a graceful Disney princess-like promotion. It's far from what you would think Disney wanted. I mean, in what world was any of this approved? Like, were these producers and creators, were they high? Were they just dehydrated and needed some Taylor Duke's Wellness electrolyte? TLDR, the girls and the gays, we all want a man, we all dream about true love, so Disney, that is not outdated. Now from there, it just seemed like controversy after controversy kept erupting.
But because I think it was Peter Dinklage said this is, this is not right. This is demeaning, and they were like, what? We just want to work. We're dwarves. So, ho, ho, ho.
For Snow White, it's coming to terms with finding herself and finding her inner voice and finding a sense of agency so that she can be a just ruler and a wonderful queen, because there's another one in town.
The original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so.
Have you ever stopped to consider what unfolds when a major studio like Disney attempts to reinvent one of its most beloved and iconic stories? Well, prepare yourself for a wild ride because Disney's upcoming live-action Snow White remake is quickly becoming a spectacle that no one could have predicted. According to outspoken entertainment commentator Brett Cooper, this project isn't just a remake. It's shaping up to be nothing short of a disaster. But why all the drama? The answer lies in a tangled web of Hollywood politics, corporate missteps, and fan outrage. From casting controversies to clashing creative visions, the Snow White remake has become a battleground where tradition meets modern reinterpretation. Today, we're diving deep into the heart of this chaos, exploring how Disney's ambitious attempt to reimagine its classic tale has spiraled into a saga of its own. Is this simply another example of a studio losing touch with its audience, or does it reveal deeper issues within the entertainment industry? As we peel back the layers of this unfolding drama, we'll uncover whether Disney can salvage its reputation, or if this remake will go down in history as a cautionary tale. So, buckle up, because the story behind Disney's Snow White 2025 is far more complicated than any fairy tale. It all started when Disney made the bold announcement that Rachel Zegler would play Snow White in their highly anticipated 2025 live-action adaptation. While some fans and critics celebrated the choice as a step forward for representation, others weren't so thrilled with the decision. The traditional portrayal of Snow White has always been as a Caucasian character, and casting a Latina actress sparked heated debates online. Some argued that this was another example of Disney trying to modernize its classic stories by reimagining iconic roles, while others felt it strayed too far from the original vision. But according to outspoken commentator Brett Cooper, the real trouble didn't start with just the casting. It began when Zegler herself started speaking out against the very story she was hired to represent. In interviews, Zegler reportedly dismissed key elements of the original Snow White narrative, particularly the focus on her love story with the prince. She suggested that instead of dreaming about true love, Snow White should aspire to become a leader, a queen capable of ruling her kingdom. While this might sound empowering to some, it didn't sit well with fans who see the original film as a timeless fairy tale centered around romance. For many, Snow White's journey isn't complete without her happily ever after. By openly criticizing these core elements of the story, Zegler risked alienating the very people Disney hoped to attract with this remake. In interviews, Rachel Zegler reportedly voiced strong criticisms regarding the original Snow White's focus on romance, labeling it as outdated and even problematic. According to her perspective, the idea of Snow White dreaming about true love was not only irrelevant, but also limiting for the character's potential. Instead, she argued that Snow White should be reimagined as a more ambitious figure, a leader and a queen capable of ruling her kingdom with wisdom and strength. While this vision might seem empowering at first glance, it struck a nerve among fans who hold the original film in high regard as a timeless fairy tale. For many, the core love story is an essential part of what makes Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs so beloved. As Brett Cooper aptly summarized, "You don't mess with perfection." By downplaying or outright dismissing the romantic elements that define the classic narrative, Zegler inadvertently alienated the very audience Disney sought to attract. Fans felt that her comments betrayed the spirit of the original film, which they view as a cornerstone of Disney's legacy. This disconnect between Zegler's modern interpretation and the traditional values cherished by longtime admirers of the story created significant tension. It raised questions about whether Disney could successfully bridge the gap between honoring its iconic past and appealing to contemporary sensibilities. Ultimately, Zegler's remarks highlighted the delicate balance required when adapting such a revered property, where even minor changes can spark passionate reactions from those deeply attached to the source material. If things weren't already complicated enough, whispers of tension between Rachel Zegler and her co-star Gal Gadot have only added fuel to the fire surrounding Disney's Snow White remake. Speculation has been swirling about the nature of their strained relationship, with some sources suggesting that the discord goes far deeper than mere creative differences. It's possible that these tensions stem from fundamentally opposing visions for what the film should represent. On one hand, Gal Gadot, renowned for her regal and commanding presence as Wonder Woman, is believed to favor a more traditional approach to portraying the evil queen, a character iconic in Disney's legacy and steeped in villainous charm. Her interpretation likely aligns closely with the original animated film's portrayal, preserving the classic elements that fans hold dear. On the other hand, Rachel Zegler appears eager to challenge convention and bring a fresh perspective to her role as Snow White. She has openly criticized certain aspects of the original story, such as its focus on romance, dismissing them as outdated or even problematic. This divergence in philosophies could be creating friction not just creatively, but personally as well. The lack of visible chemistry between the two leads has become increasingly noticeable, raising concerns among both critics and fans alike. At awards events and public appearances, reports suggest that the actresses have deliberately avoided direct interaction, fueling rumors of an icy relationship behind the scenes. For many, this raises troubling questions about how cohesive the final product will ultimately feel. After all, synergy between lead actors is crucial for any film success, particularly in a high-profile project like this one. If the audience senses a disconnect or perceives animosity between Zegler and Gadot, it could significantly undermine the movie's emotional impact and overall appeal. Moreover, such divisions risk overshadowing the actual quality of the film itself, turning attention away from the story and onto the drama unfolding off-screen. As production moves forward, industry insiders and casual observers alike are left wondering whether these interpersonal dynamics will hinder the film's ability to connect with viewers, or if they'll simply add another layer of intrigue to an already tumultuous narrative. Faced with mounting criticism, Disney took drastic and unprecedented measures in an attempt to protect both the Snow White project and its own reputation. The studio began severely limiting Rachel Zegler's media appearances, effectively sidelining her from what was originally planned as a robust promotional tour. This decision meant that Zegler, the lead actress in one of Disney's most anticipated live-action remakes, would no longer grace major talk shows, primetime entertainment broadcasts, or even comedic variety programs like Saturday Night Live. These appearances were supposed to showcase her talents and include performances of signature musical numbers tied to her role as Snow White, a key part of generating buzz for the film. According to Brett Cooper, this calculated move by Disney backfired spectacularly. Instead of quelling the controversy surrounding Zegler's public statements about the original 1937 animated classic, it only fueled further outrage. By restricting her presence in the media, Disney inadvertently cast Zegler as a victim, a talented young actress silenced by corporate interests intent on controlling the narrative. In the eyes of many, this decision painted Disney as overly authoritarian and out of touch with modern audiences who value authenticity and transparency. Moreover, there are significant legal implications at play here. Reports suggest that Zegler allegedly believes Disney breached her contract by unilaterally canceling promotional events that were explicitly outlined in her agreement. If these allegations hold true, the situation could escalate into a costly legal battle. Such disputes often involve complex negotiations behind closed doors, but if brought into public view, they could further tarnish Disney's image while simultaneously damaging Zegler's career prospects. For Zegler, pursuing legal action might be seen as necessary to protect her rights, yet it also carries risks of alienating potential collaborators in Hollywood. On the other hand, failing to address the issue could leave her feeling wronged and hinder her ability to capitalize on the exposure promised by starring in such a high-profile role. In essence, Disney's decision to limit Zegler's appearances not only failed to resolve the existing controversies, but also opened up new fronts of conflict. It highlighted the tension between artistic expression and corporate control, leaving fans, critics, and industry insiders alike questioning whether Disney truly understands how to navigate the delicate balance required when adapting beloved classics for contemporary audiences. As the drama unfolds, all eyes remain fixed on how this unfolding saga will impact both parties involved, and perhaps redefine the future of Disney's approach to legacy remakes. With a staggering budget that rivals some blockbuster extravaganzas, Disney has poured immense resources into ensuring Snow White 2025 meets sky-high expectations. From dazzling visual effects to high-profile casting choices, the studio has left no stone unturned in their quest for perfection. Yet, despite all these efforts, the controversies swirling around the film have already begun to cast a long shadow over its potential success. Fans, both casual viewers and die-hard Disney enthusiasts, are now openly questioning whether the company truly understands what makes its classic stories so special. For Brett Cooper, this issue extends far beyond just one movie. It's symptomatic of a much larger problem within the Walt Disney Company. Has the once innovative giant become overly reliant on rehashing old hits at the expense of exploring fresh narratives? Is it possible that, in their desperation to capitalize on nostalgia, they've lost sight of the very essence that made those original tales timeless? Cooper argues passionately that this isn't merely about adapting a beloved story. It's about the broader creative strategy Disney employs when revisiting its vast catalog of intellectual properties. If this remake fails, it could signal a turning point, a moment where audiences collectively decide that enough is enough, and demand something new rather than another polished retread of familiar ground. The stakes couldn't be higher, as the outcome of Snow White 2025 may not only define Rachel Zegler's career but also shape the future trajectory of one of Hollywood's most iconic studios. The Snow White fiasco stands as a stark reminder to any company daring to reimagine beloved properties for contemporary audiences. It lays bare the intricate dance required between honoring tradition and embracing innovation, a balance that is notoriously difficult to achieve. On one hand, Disney must cater to its loyal fanbase, who hold dear the enchanting essence of the original 1937 animated masterpiece, a film that not only set the standard for fairy tale adaptations, but also established Disney as a pioneer in feature-length animation. These fans expect fidelity to the core elements that made the story magical: the timeless romance, the perilous journey, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. On the other hand, there's an undeniable pressure to modernize, to reflect current societal values and appeal to a new generation of viewers who demand relevance and representation. This dual responsibility creates a tightrope walk for Disney, where every creative decision risks alienating one side or the other. Can Disney strike this precarious equilibrium, crafting a version of Snow White that honors the past while resonating with today's sensibilities? Or will this ambitious remake become another cautionary tale, joining the ranks of projects that prove sometimes less is more, that perhaps the most enduring stories should be left untouched, their charm preserved in their original form? As the controversies surrounding Rachel Zegler's casting, her public remarks dismissing key aspects of the original narrative, and the alleged tensions with co-star Gal Gadot continue to unfold, it becomes increasingly clear that the stakes are higher than ever. The outcome of Snow White 2025 will not only define the careers of those involved, but also shape the future trajectory of Disney itself, potentially forcing the studio to reconsider its approach to legacy remakes altogether. Will they learn from this experience, or will history repeat itself with each subsequent adaptation? Only time will tell, but one thing remains certain. The world is watching, and the verdict of audiences will determine whether this remake joins the pantheon of classics or serves as yet another example of why some stories are best left untampered. So, what do you think? Is Disney destined to keep repeating the same mistakes with every live-action remake, or will they finally learn from this experience and chart a new course? This isn't just about one movie. It's a reflection of how Disney approaches its entire catalog of beloved classics. The Snow White remake has become a microcosm of the broader challenges facing the studio today, balancing modern sensibilities with respect for tradition, managing star personalities without stifling their voices, and navigating the ever-watchful eye of social media. One thing is certain: the fate of Snow White 2025 will have far-reaching consequences. It won't just define Rachel Zegler's career, it could also reshape the future of Disney itself as a storytelling powerhouse. Will the film be remembered as another misstep in Disney's quest to reimagine its legacy, or will it mark a turning point where the studio finds harmony between innovation and nostalgia? Let's not forget that this debate extends beyond Hollywood. It's something we all have a stake in as fans, critics, and observers. After all, these remakes are more than movies. They're cultural touchstones that spark conversations about identity, representation, and the evolution of art. Whether you're team tradition or team modernization, there's no denying that the stakes couldn't be higher. So, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Disney can pull off a win with Snow White, or is this project already doomed before it even hits theaters? And don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the wild world of entertainment, where nothing is ever black and white, and everything is up for discussion.